Tom Quee and Sam Wiles present Down in the Hole, a Tom Waits podcast which explores and critiques, episode by episode, every album of the American artist. To find out more information about the show and the man himself, visit tomwaitspodcast.wordpress.com.
Hello, and welcome to Down in the Hole. We're a Tom Waits podcast, and we are now 21 episodes in, I believe. We've come quite a long way since closing time.
We've came a full age.
Yeah.
In pod years.
Last week, as you may very well know, we started the behemoth that is the triple album of Orphans. We did the first part, Brawlers. We are now on Bawlers, but I will not be tackling this alone. I will be with my fellow Waitsian aficionado. It is Tom Quee. How are you, man?
Hey, man. I've got to be honest. I'm a little confused with this album. I'm a little wary. If you were to ask me a year ago, before this whole Tom Waits project started, what's your favourite Orphans, I would have just snapped back Ballers straight away. I would have just said, yeah, it's by far my favourite. But as I dig in, I'm questioning myself. I don't know if you find this, where it's like, is it as good? There are good songs, but we'll get into it. But you know what I mean? There's doubt.
Again, lifting the curtain of the podcast somewhat. Like the automatic mode of writing a Tom Waits song review is a positive one, and then you get kind of halfway through it, and then you're like, you're filled with this self doubt. Like, is this as good as I'm making it out to be, or is it kind of wank? And then you kind of have to go back and look at it. But spoilers, there is nothing as bad as Jackie and Judy on this album. Or is there?
Yeah.
But these are the grand weepers of the selection. This is also probably for me. I mean, you're a big fan of the ballads and stuff. This is probably the Orphans album I know the least. Probably the one I know the most is, oddly enough, Bastards, just because it's so weird, and I kind of dived into that early on.
Yeah.
But before we get into the song, we have our routine housekeeping. As everyone knows, you can find us on iTunes if you just type in Down in the Hole. And as we've said before, please give us some proper iTunes reviews if you can. They go a very long way in helping us along. If you want to get in contact with us, whether to praise us, question us, or just downright refute things that we say, you can always contact us at tomwaitspodcast@gmail.com. We've got a couple of emails to get into later. Once again, fantastic emails. People, please keep emailing us in. Tell us your Tom Waits stories, your weird little anecdotes. It's going to be hard to top the guy who was in a shop when Tom Waits came in. That's a pretty mad one.
That was in the last one. Yeah, that's the high watermark. It's crazy. Yeah.
We also have the Twitter, which Tom mostly runs with much success. That's at Tom Waits Podcast. It's kind of it's reaching like critical mass now. It's going really, really well. We also have the blog, because not only do we talk about Tom Waits on this podcast, we also talk about Tom Waits on the phone to each other. But we have so much Waitsian sort of drivel coming out of our mouth that we just have we have to put pen to paper, key to board, and we have our little blog where we do little articles about it. You've done the last two. The penultimate one was Tom and his relationship with God, kind of one of our listy ones where we just kind of mention every single utterance of it and kind of build a narrative out of that. But the latest one, and I think you should introduce this one, because it's kind of gone supersonic, negasonic, hasn't it?
It's kind of, like, I mean, it's very clickbaity, but I'm a big fan of Desert Island Discs, BBC's Desert Island Discs, a great music show in Britain, where basically they get a celebrity on and they sort of interview them, and they kind of just go through 7 songs of artists that they like. And it's a huge database.
Quite famously, if you ask to go on or say you want to go on, they will never have you on as well. Weird little thing about that. Yeah.
Okay, kind of Masonic almost. But Waits is mentioned 15 different times by a variety of people. Colin Firth being one of them.
Spoilers.
And Emma Thompson and William Gibson and David McVicker. There's a brilliant list of cast of celebrities there that picked Tom Waits songs. So just did a blog post, and it just got like 700, 800 views in a day. I was like, it's so clickbaity. I think we both agreed that it's because Colin Firth's face is the thumbnail. And it just, you know what I mean? I think we're just absorbing that kind of fan thing.
I think I'm more of the clickbaity type, like most what the fuck Tom Waits songs. That's probably the most clickbaity title. But Colin Firth's post King's Speech face. it doesn't take liberties. It's a
No. And I just want to quickly say as well, please subscribe to us on YouTube because as well as on the iTunes feed, we release extra episodes, just YouTube only episodes. So far we've done Best of Asylum Years, Best of Island Years. We've also done a third episode. Our latest episode is a VH1 Storytellers sort of retrospective appreciation of that amazing live disc. Upcoming, we're going to have just a few ideas. Best of Anti-Years, obviously, I think we've got to do a filmography retrospective, where we'll just kind of talk about all the films we've spoken about at Tom Waits. We always review films at the end of each episode. That's in the Real Gone segment. And we're also going to do a Morphans segment, as in orphans that aren't on Orphans. The many songs, there's probably 40, 50 songs. I don't know if I can find...
It's going to be closest to actual episodes than anything, but obviously space and bandwidth prevents us from making it part of the real show. But obviously true fans will find us out.
Yeah. And I just want to ask Sam if you would be interested in doing, I just thought of this morning, but an episode where we spent the whole podcast doing it, so might as well finish the podcast doing it, aping Barney Hoskins and kind of honouring this great rock journalist, great writer. Because at the end of Barney's brilliant book, Low Side of the Road, he quite fascinatingly collects his top 40 Tom Waits songs in a kind of arbitrary order. And interestingly, they split between both eras. It's literally 2020. Yes. Kind of pre-Kathleen, post-Kathleen. It's kind of interesting that happens. Tom Trowell's Blues, I believe, is number 1. Going Out West is in the top 3. I remember it being quite high up. I think it's
3, and Take It With Me is number 2.
I think you're right. So maybe we should do it like top 40. I think that would be interesting. Like, just see what comes up. See what we both go for.
Doing it actually in order would be almost impossible.
That would be so hard.
Yeah.
So hard.
We also have our web store, which is also kind of blowing up as well. It's obviously just for kind people out there who may want to support the podcast, give us a bit more bandwidth. You never know. But stickers are selling out fast. We've also sold mugs. I believe you've got one of our mugs as well.
I bought one of the mugs. Yeah, it's really cool. Down in the whole mug.
But,
very nice.
The best one is we're now selling T-shirts as well, and people are actually buying them. Whether they know that it's the Down in the Hole podcast or whether they just want really cool Tom Waits stuff, which our resident artist Danny O'Gorman, we sold a woman's and a child's one together, so I'm like, is this like a mother and daughter who just like love the pod or something? Like, that'd be great. A mother and daughter listening to Christmas Card from a hooker in Minneapolis. Mommy, what's a hooker? What's a Minneapolis?
But if I was a kid, I would have loved Big in Japan.
Oh,
like, you know
Singapore as well. Like
any of those sort of tracks
in the car when you're 5. And I'm going to plug our little Spotify playlist that Tom really doesn't approve of.
Oh,
but
is that still alive?
Yeah, we've had about like 5-6 people listen to it. But if you're on Spotify. It's just a sort of collection of our, obviously at the end of every episode we do our favourite and least favourite song, but it's just a collection of our most favourite songs from each album, which is actually quite interesting to go back and see what we didn't pick.
Yeah, for sure.
Just going to quickly read out a couple of emails that we've had as well.
Yeah.
This one's from Bob, which is also my dad's name, weirdly. I don't think it's from him though. Hi Sam and Tom, wanted to drop you a note. I'm a long-time Waits fanatic and recently discovered your podcast. I'm playing catch-up while driving in my car. Driving is one of the best ways to listen to music, and it serves your podcast well also. My first memories of Tom Waits go back to his appearances on The Tonight Show with Johnny Carson back in the late mid-70s. His dishevelled barroom crooner persona and twisted sense of humour really commanded my attention. I bought Heart of Saturday Night in junior high, and I've been a huge fan ever since. That's an interesting one to start off with.
That's early as well, isn't it? That's great to have such a long-time listener.
I must admit that when I started listening to your podcast, much of my draw was arguing with you. You think what? You have to be kidding. Have you been snorting bath salts or what?
Oh, Bob, sorry.
Happens all the time.
Yeah,
that kind of thing. By the time we got to Tom's Electra Island years, we seemed to share more common ground. Seriously, I've enjoyed the cast immensely.
Oh.
The reason I'm writing now is that next up is The Black Rider, a very controversial album, and I am not a fan. Nope, never was I. Of course, I purchased it as soon as it came out, but it quickly went to a shelf and stayed there. I gave it a couple of additional times throughout the year, but it didn't do anything for me, so I traded it in. Anyway, I'm a little nervous to hear your in-depth review of TBR, which is a great abbreviation, as I seem to be swayed to repurchase the disc and negate the heart of my argument that I'm not a collector. Who knows, maybe you don't like it much either, maybe. Guess I'll find out tomorrow when I listen to podcast number 15, so long ago. The Black Rider. Regardless of your thoughts and potential swayings on the influences of TBR, I love your podcast, keep it up. Then, after you did a quick reply to him, Tom, he actually got back in touch with us.
Yeah.
Hola Sam, hola Tom. He might be Spanish, you never know.
No?
I listened and enjoyed episode 15, The Black Rider. That said, I'm able to maintain that I'm not a collector, as I still do not and do not ever to intend to ever own the Black Rider. It just doesn't do it for me. Your discussion did, however, prompt me to sample the songs again, and I did download a couple. On to more important things, do you intend to do an episode on Tom Waits covers? There are a bazillion out there, many of which suck. There are also some amazing gems to celebrate his genius through a varied interpretation. A few suggested cuts would be from Lydia Lunch, The Wedding Present, Joe Bamassa, Beth Hart, and Holy Coal. Oh, and the Five Blind Boys of Alabama. Gospel doesn't get any better, and to hearing them covering some of Tom's songs, minus the irony, is awesome. I'm sure there are plenty of other choice cuts that can make an awesome playlist. Anyway, sorry you are nearing the end of Tom's current output. I've enjoyed your podcast greatly. Bob. Thank you for a great email there, Bob. We've actually discussed doing an episode about covers before. It could definitely be one of these sort of post-main run bonus YouTube exclusive episodes. We'd have to spend about a good half an hour talking about Scarlett Johansson's album. It's like such a great actress, yet she cannot make a Tom Waits album to save her life. Really,
it's just a horrible, that album, Anywhere I Lay My Head, the Dave Sitek produced album. I think it's like 2007, 2008. What a cool idea! Oh, a mainstream Hollywood actress does a Tom Waits cover album. This is cool. But like, not only is her voice drained of any life, the instrumentation.
It's the worst selection yet.
The track listing is astonishingly bad. It's like I love Tom Waits, and kind of objectively, I guess I love every Tom Waits song, kind of. But some songs just. It's Fanning Street's on there, for example, and Green Grass, and these songs that just aren't translatable to this kind of. I don't know. You go for the Waitsy and Waits songs.
And then she does like an Enya Bjork cover of "I Don't Want to Grow Up," which is one of the most energetic, like sort of youth-filled songs ever, and just turns it into something by Lorde. It's really bad. Now, the next email we have is from probably the best name that anyone who's ever emailed us in.
Right.
This is from Mad King Ludwig.
Oh.
Dear Tom and Sam, and all concerned with the wonderful world of Down in the Hole. I'm getting in touch to say, in hopefully not too distended a fashion, how much I enjoy, am enamoured of, and am thoroughly and continually elated by your delvings and musings upon the weird and wonderful world of Waits. Ooh, that was a mouthful to read. I'm about a quarter of the way through your podcast, and I was just listening today to your review of Blue Valentines. It's definitely one of my favourite albums, and while I was at first slightly fuming of how lovingly down on it you were, but to be honest, your points about the end side of one onwards are still totally fair. Yeah,
the worst section in any Tom Waits album is the last bit of Blue Valentine, I think.
Yeah, see, like even Foreign Affairs goes up and down, doesn't it? But yeah. It's like a roller coaster ride. Just the end part of it, Blue Valentine.
The opening of Blue Valentine,
yeah,
astonishing.
But I still love the album anyway. And Christmas Card from a Hooker in Minneapolis is still indeed fucking stunning. You've made so many delightful observations over episodes that I feel like I cannot truly do justice in this email how giddy and joyous it makes me. Like a child who's been given the keys to an ice cream truck and a temporary driving and cold desserts license. A simple thank you would do, I guess, but it's quickly turning into a complex one, and in any case, thank you, the both of you. Thinking about it, I reckon my first introduction to Tom Waits was a duo of songs put on a mix CD for a friend. Again, that's another running thing we've had. Jockey Full of Bourbon and Something Else. It really didn't resonate with me, and the friend's description of him being and sounding like an old man bumbling about in a basement didn't really help either. Though now that's precisely what I like about a lot of his material. Then years later I heard The Piano's Been Drinking Not Me, and I permanently upped the musical sticks and moved to Waitstown. The simple idea of anthropomorphising a piano, the sleazy poetry and the voice, man oh man, woman oh woman. Next was Rain Dogs, and finally getting songs like Jockey Full of Bourbon, whose sinister nursery rhyme nature soon became a firm favourite. And now, like you two fellows, I am an obsessive. I now know everything and nothing about Tom Waits, and even more since I started listening to your podcast. He's transformed not just music, but my worldview and my own opinion of myself, which few other artists can claim to have done about anyone, let alone such a strong and diverse cult following as his own. Tom also encouraged me to sing. Yes, there's a lot of lost shout melodies on my pillow too, and I play the piano and write and compose, and whoever the fuck I'll be damned will want to be. Whenever I play solo with my band, the Mojo Co. or Company, people come up with me and give me the biggest compliment I could ever receive. You sound like Tom Waits, or you're going for a Tom Waits feel with this, aren't you? If this intrigues you, check out some of our live stuff. And I did actually.
Oh.
Yeah. Basically, I was writing my notes up for this podcast yesterday. He sent us the link, Mad King Ludwig Live, and it is in a very Waitsian manner. There's like a drummer going bump ba bump ba bump, and like he introduces the band. Each member, like, you know, playing all the little bass notes is this guy, and like, you know, hitting the toms is this guy, and the vocals, especially during the song Cranial Papa Orchestra, were very kind of Frank Walters, with that sort of very like vibrato, theatrical. He's not doing like a closing time thing or a sort of don't go into that barn. It's very much a Frank's. It is the theatrical Waits. Like Tom, you've both inspired me too. I've started compiling and recording my own podcasts, more about music in general and stuff I like to talk about, centered around a theme. So of course Tom Waits is to feature heavily, and my first podcast, or Swancasts as I call them, as I'm ever after the Swan King, is on Swordfish Trombones and New Beginnings, and is to be released on the 1st of next month. We'll definitely check that out and we'll hopefully plug it. Soon after, I will follow one on Big Time and Identity, to be recorded when I visit a friend in Riga, in Latvia, wow. Fortnightly and infinitely inferior to your own charming chatty fare. Right, that about does it, but I hope this does not do it for your inspired podcasts. Bad as Me is up next, right? And I hope many more to come. And so I'll pretend that I owe you nothing and admit that all my world is green and bid you farewell, Mad King Ludwig. Again, another fucking fantastic email.
Mad King, thank you so
Mad
much,
King. Very, very well, very, very eloquent. We haven't there's like a kind of running theme throughout Tom Waits fans. They're all very, very well read and very well spoken.
Yes. Delight. Thank you so much to both of those emails, to Barbat and to Mad King Ludwig. But
we'll put the link to his live show on the Twitter as well.
Yeah, for sure. So we'll jump into Bawlers, Sam, and I think you've got a little bit to say on it, but just as we've been discussing kind of off the podcast, and as with Bastards as well, because it's a triple album, the context is the same for all three discs, as it were, the background, which we have covered on the previous episode. So this episode will be more of a jumping in. But if you want to know more about, if you just jumped into this Bawlers episode and you want to know more about how Orphans came to be as a thing, check out episode 20, the previous episode. But Bawlers.
Yeah, there's only one little thing I want to say about this one. Really, there's a little quote from Now magazine from 2006, where Waits says, "Kathleen and I collaborate on everything. We wrote the songs together, and Kathleen picked the categories. Only she wanted to call the Bawlers disc 'Shut Up and Eat Your Ballads,' you know, for people who don't get enough slow songs in their diet. Any one of my songs probably could have fit into any of the three categories. Probably the most striking one that's on the wrong disc is probably Books of Moses from Bastards, which is clearly a brawler. But obviously we'll get onto that in 2 weeks.
Dog Chain as well.
Yeah. Perhaps there aren't. I think everything that was meant to.
Nirvana could be on Bawlers.
Yeah, it could have actually. But speaking of Bawlers, let's just jump right in. Times are wasting. Tell me about Bend Down the Branches, Tom.
This surprised me. I think this is a good taster for the album, because a lot of the album are these vignettes, are these kind of small minute-ish songs, Shiny Things, Jane's Blue Wish, you know, Take Care of All of My Children even. I love that song like that. That's 2.5 minutes. So you get these kind of this softness to it. Where I think this song interests me is Tom's crooning, is he not? It's
a very regressive album as a whole. We're going to see towards the end that there is a small change, Foreign Affairs, Blue Valentine's moment, where he just kind of completely regresses to pre-One from the Heart Tom, which is great.
Yes, yeah, no, I adore that as well, because obviously he is going back in time. A lot of these songs were written, a lot of them were written in the 90s, so they weren't written kind of like, what's so sad about Orphans is that, on Bawlers is as far back as we go into Tom's career, so this is released in 2006. The furthest back we go is 1984, I believe, so it's post Swordfish. He does the soundtrack for Streetwise, which again we'll get on to Take Care of All My Children. Yeah, and then from there, like, I think I said this on the previous episode, I wish there was a Babies episode, I wish we could go back, but you know, that's what the early years is for. But in Bend Down the Branches, we see that melting of his personality, we see the kind of collaboration of his darker elements with this kind of the ornateness, the old crumbling vinyl instrumental. You know how these things feel so old, don't they, and delicate, and of some sort of Art Nouveau hall in some Czechoslovakian town. They just have such character, like, you know, the soft horns. Like, for me, the guitar was such the instrument of Brawlers, but Bawlers, even more than the piano is the horn section, isn't it? Throughout so many of these songs, it's just so delicate and so there, and this feels so intricate. It reminds me a little of the Island Years in the sense there's a lot of instrumentation going on, but here it's just so expertly layered. Like Tom is 20 years into his production career, obviously from Swordfish. He starts doing his own stuff, and the guy knows exactly, he and Kathleen and the instrumentations that he works with know exactly what they want. And I think Bend Down the Branches is just a flourish at the start. It's a real introduction to who he is, and of course what's crucial is it's not a song that he's written specifically to entice you. It's a song that he wrote years and years ago for a film that I believe was called Bunny, an animated film from 1998, directed by Chris Wedge. That's where this song is from, I should say. A lot. So basically, on Bawlers, the interesting thing about Bawlers is none of these songs are new. On Brawlers, there are a few that were new. Fish in the Jailhouse, off the top of my head, was
Low
new.
Down.
And Low Down, Lie to Me. These were songs that were completely new, had never been heard before, but all of Bawlers has been heard before. I was under the impression, actually, that Shiny Things was an original track, and then I realised that it was from Blood Money. Wojciech, Blood Money. But Bend Down the Branches, son, does it hold you like it holds me?
It's odd that he would almost try and give us that Tom Waits brevity in just kind of saying this is what Ballers is going to be about in literally 1 minute and 6 seconds. Like, it's got a very classic soundtracky feel to it, like something like, you know, from like the 60s, you know, like Bernard Sherman, something really, really grand, something really, really great. I love the little hand symbols, and it kind of fills you with that days gone by nostalgia. It's a very good children's song. Obviously Tom goes into old nursery rhymes and children's tales a lot on this album, but you know, like all the classics, they're not all roses, and he doesn't talk down to the children here. You know, we've got lines like "Once you were gold, we were made for bending. Even beauty gets old." These are heavy things for kids, but I like how I know that he didn't ever go "oochie boochie boo" to his children either. He was probably just as gruff and as real, and he does infuse a kind of blood money melancholia here. But you know,
yeah, I mean, even Bent Branches, don't they? They kind of connote lynching, and there's still a violence there, weirdly.
And you are right; it is just 1 minute 6, but so much is packed in. We've got woodwind, guitar, violin, that swelling brass. It's a song that just fills you up and makes you feel good. It's like, oh, we've survived Brawlers. We've managed to get through all that grit and teeth and gunmetal. And now we're getting onto something a little softer, and it's good that it's a nice uplifting song to start us off with, because we are going to get very low in some songs on this album. But yeah, it is quite short. I've actually got in my notes here that it was released for an album called For the Kids, which was an album featuring rendition of children's songs by various artists. So Tom's scattered everywhere, isn't he?
Yeah, Hi Ho, I think, was featured on that in some sort of form as well. But the uplift continues, and you would be forgiven for thinking the album's going one way, really, when obviously it goes quite a few paths, kind of similar to Brawlers, actually, which kind of opens with a 1-2 punch. And we have You Can Never Hold Back Spring, which is interesting because it sees Tom, the origin of this song, as I said before, these songs are all from mostly soundtracks, it seems. Brawlers seems to be from a lot of soundtracks. This is from Tom's collab with his Down by Law alumni, the brilliant Robert Benigni. This is for a film that Robert Benigni directed, basically called The Tiger in the Snow from 2005. And Waits was speaking about this in an NPR radio show, and he said, quote, "That was a song for Robert Benigni, who did a movie called The Tiger in the Snow about the Iraq War. And the movie's kind of built around the song. It's played several times during the movie." And then they ask, "Had you actually been able to see the movie when you wrote the song, or did you read the screenplay?" And then Tom just says, No, I just had to write a good song." And then apparently he laughed. And this is an absolutely fantastic song. It kind of infuses, again, that sense of kind of the nature melancholy, the kind of appeal to the higher power, the fact that any emotion that we hold is kind of null and void in the face of what's coming. And Tom even mentions, to very much be Tom in here, he talked about spring falling behind, like the kind of the play with the seasons there. There's kind of a wink here. And like, you know, again, I think he's kind of crooning it, baby. You can never hold. But, you know, it's like he's dancing with a tree or something. Like, you know what I mean? It's just kind of, he's just got this sort of very romantic, bucolic, kind of Electric Eden nature to him. But it's the way that, in the same way you get like a baby bird that's hatching, and the egg is almost skin, and it's kind of, its arms are just sort of coming out of the way and dictating what's happening. Like there are these jagged piano notes that come up, winter dreams are say, and just like the like there's just some lovely kind of like almost little fireworks, and it's a very frosty song to me. There's a coldness.
It happens about 1 minute 50 when he sings "Dreaming of Spring," and there's that really like sorrowful clang. It really hits you very hard, probably more so than anything he actually sings. And like it is just a testament to Waits' ability to know how those notes can attack you at your weakest spot. Like it's really second to none. The great thing about this song for me is that, like, the central image is fantastic. Things you can't change, things will run its course, rebirth, regrowth, and it isn't like a typical Waitsin song about powerlessness. It is just more like accepting that there are forces beyond our control, and obviously he can do that brilliantly through weather.
Yep.
However, he's going to revisit this exact theme a lot of times throughout this album, and it's a shame that this is the best of them. This is the best version of this kind of song on this album, and he is going to retread ground later. We probably won't have to explicitly mention it each time, but you will see threads running through, and I'm a little bit sad that he put it so soon. But perhaps if he'd put something else before, they would say, well, you're never going to hold back springs now, copying that. What I do love though is that it's got a very Alice Blood Money tone to it. Like, it's got a lot of that woodwind wheeze to it, and like it's a very self-reflected and like dejected kind of like tone that it conjures. It's also got that brilliant like 78 speed quality, so like Innocent When You Dream, and that really aged quality and
that wrinkled kind of thumbed,
and again, he's just back in that early crooner mode, and that he can just revert back to these earlier singing styles. That we knew he could do that from One from the Heart, but he does it so effortlessly. It's really beautiful, and the penultimate singing of the phrase "You can never hold back spring," which adds that bit of gumph to back spring. It's like it's so much like defeated hope in it. It's brilliant, and like spring forward, fall behind. There is such great double entendre to it. And it ends with like there are two good ways to end a Tom Waits song: a wheezy laugh going, or twinkles on the piano like it's a live show, and he does it here, and it does like this whole album is basically kind of made for people who bemoan the loss of the Foreign Affairs Small Change kind of era, the kind of Piano Smith days, and this album will just take you back to that perfectly. It's so beautiful, but we actually abandoned the piano quite quickly. And quicker than I thought we would have on this album. Like I say, this isn't one I particularly remember, let alone the order. We go straight on to The Long Way Home, which was previously released on the Big Bad Love soundtrack, also covered by Norah Jones on her 2004 album Feels Like Home. Have you heard that?
Yeah. I know that version very well, weirdly. I remember searching for that song on Spotify years and years ago, literally just searching Long Way Home, and on Spotify it just comes up with kind of, who matches for that song, and it said Norah Jones. I don't know what came over me. I already knew the Tom Waits song and I just kind of clicked on it, and it is a very faithful cover. It sounds very, very similar, but she goes a little bit higher, so she goes like, and show the way back home. So it kind of goes a little bit above what Tom can do, but it is a very, very kind of like, it has that intimate strum. Like, this is something that Tom kind of perfected on How's It Gonna End in Blood Money, kind of feeling the frets throb in your temples. Like, he has a really good way of getting the instruments really close to you, like a campfire, and this is a song that I really, really enjoy this song.
It's a classic, isn't it? Yeah.
It is a classic. Like there's something so effortless about this song, and sometimes I listen to it and I'm a little bit tired of it almost. But like, when I actually kind of think about it as a piece of music, it's fantastic. Like, it's Tom doing something that he rarely does do, because in Mule, it's cool. We got a lot of hobo zealotry. You know what I mean? We got a lot of the nomad. We got a lot of the stumbling Bible basher. We got a lot of the weirdo outcast. And here Tom's kind of parlaying that into something a bit more hopeful. And I really think the last stanza is just, heartwarming. I love you, baby, more than the whole wide world. You're my woman, you are my pearl. Let's go out past the party lights so we can finally be alone. And it's just, the simplicity that he deals in, with the chords beneath him, with the stop-start melodies, with the beautiful horn going past it. Like I don't know about you, but this song probably has one of my all-time favourite Tom Waits lyrics, and I can't quite pinpoint why I love it so much, but it always affects me. I always think about it, and money's just something you throw off the back of a train.
Yeah.
I don't know why that is, but like it's the fact that just the chord just stops and then Tom comes back into this song, and like why is that such a powerful image? I'm struggling to pinpoint it again, but like it affects me. And then got a head full of lightning and a hat full of rain.
Lyrically, this song is beautiful, and the fact that like he asks for forgiveness, like for always taking the long way home, is like, he's so clearly like a tragic sort of John Wayne, Easy Rider kind of like wanderlust figure, and like like while like like there's something quite close to Waits' heart about like these kind of rovers. But this is probably the most honest and heartfelt, probably like most richly written of them all. Like the line, "I put food on the table and roof over our head, but I tried it all tomorrow for the highway instead." Like he just shows how much this guy is like willing to resist his own urges to be with the one he loves. And then he says like, "I said I'd never do it again," and this is something like this is a real wanderer. He might not come home for months. I mean, he's not exactly riding the rails, but he might just jump in a Cadillac, and he won't come home for weeks. And the line like money is just something you throw from the back of a train. Like there's a bit to me where it's like that's kind of how Tom himself sees money, unless someone's using his song for a Frito-Lay advert, and then he'll use money.
Then it's the gravy train
as a crushing weapon. Yeah. But it also just shows how like. It just shows how little the normal world means to this guy. Like he could live off the land for all he cares. And just the idea of taking the long way home with someone's also very sweet. Like not only does it show that there's like no rush in the sense that you just want to see the sights and spend time with this one person, but it's kind of like as long as you make it home eventually, as long as you make it home eventually one day, it's gonna be fine. And like for me, like you could immediately imagine what the music video for this song looks like lots of fields, dirt paths, highways, Tom looking off into the horizon. it writes itself.
Yes.
And this song feels like we're going to talk about this from in Young at Heart, but this feels like a standard, like a real musical standard to me. For me, like this is probably one of the most commercial Tom Waits songs.
Yeah.
Like, anyone could enjoy this. Also, after a long hiatus, we've got the accordion back.
Yep.
And
in the eaves. Yeah, it's great.
We've got banjo and it's sparse. That's good. And it's like a very mature, surreal mode, and it kind of fits perfectly. And a regular feature of Bawlers will be the triumphant Americana trumpet that just makes you want that makes you want to like pump your fist in the air.
It's the French horn, it's gorgeous.
Is it French horn? Sorry.
It's a French. No, it's cool. Yeah, I agree. It's a wonderful sound.
It's that last blast of hope that you need to find the long way home. And then you've obviously got that fuzzy, unshowy electric plucking. There's not going to be any Rabot on this album, I don't think.
I don't. It was hard to find the liner notes for this album, but I think you're right. He might be on one or two. I want to think that that's him on Little Drop of Poison, but I don't know.
Nah, if it's simple guitar, if it's slow plucking, if there's fingers going up and down the fretboard going, it's Tom. There's like he
might be Joe Gore. It feels a bit Joe Gorey, but maybe we'll see.
And also the bass feels quite meandering and lost, and kind of mirrors the protagonist. But this is one that I love to sing. It's
I do as well.
For people like me who still can't pick the 12-bar blues, it's a very easy song to play as well. So it's a good camp. Fittingly, it's a very good campfire song. But let's get on to a song that I didn't think I liked and I now actually fucking love, which is Widow's Grove. Yeah, it wasn't one that I was familiar with at all, and it's just like, oh, okay, I was sort of like, okay, it's just gonna be this cute little Waitsian waltz with a great raspy breath, and then like after I went back, I was like, hang on, you know when you kind of have to like a double take when you've watched some sort of like weird alien video on YouTube or something. I had to go back. I was like, hang on, is this song the pinnacle of the Tom Waits nice sound horrid lyrics dichotomy trope? Because if not, it's definitely the most effective and it's the grisliest. Because essentially, it's a story that's been told by one of bitter, violent jealousy, and it's probably the most beautiful song ever written about some woman drowning in the well for dancing with another person. And just as a quick aside, like whilst I feel like you don't really have to bring up the sexuality of people in songs can be quite sexless. but the singer is angry that the one that the singer loves is dancing with a girl from Widow's Grove, but the one that the singer also loves wears a corsage which only women wear. So am I correct in assuming that Waits has now covered literally every single type of human, and that he's singing about a very violent, angry, gay female love?
Well, I mean, Widow's Grove would suggest, yeah.
And because the first two verses are full of this real, genuine warmth, like beautiful Tom Waits' gushy lyricism, and then he dashes in that little bit of defeat as the girl she has fallen gallops off into the arms of another. And then initially, when you first hear the little chorus about following a girl down to the river and the sea, we kind of interpret it as a bit of a simple declaration of just how much this person loves his baby and how he'll follow her in spirit, despite how she may never be with someone else. Then he does the Waitsian thing of turning it all on his head, and then we find out that she isn't just sad that she danced with another woman. The singer's now actually like a kind of a drunken rage and actually pushes her down a well, and it kind of like, if I can't have you, no one can feel. And we go back to that same chorus, and now it takes a more literal, darker meaning. Like, he's now actually concerned that her body will flow down the river to the sea, and he'll have to now bury her or just sort of like look upon her corpse with great satisfaction. It's like a great Waitian twist ending.
Yeah, it's a fun track. Kind of hits you over the head a little bit with the melody at the start, but it's quite sweeping. It's quite enjoyable, and there is a long instrumentational break between the third chorus and the final kind of verse, which, like you say, is quite disturbing, you know. And when your mouth was full and wet, I swallowed all your reckless fate, and with your breath you moan, too drunk to wake. And it fulfills that kind of Waits expectation. I should say, by the way, that this is the only original song, or one of the only original songs, I'm just checking now, on the whole Bawlers disc. I did say earlier that there were a few that weren't there, but you know, they crop up in other places, so it's hard to kind of detect them. But I believe this is one that was exclusively on the 2006 disc, and it's interesting that Waits is kind of ploughing this kind of older world. You know, reminds me a little bit of Two Sisters almost, if anyone's aware of that from Bastards. You know, a much similar track.
Yeah, man. This is musically as well. I kind of really enjoy it. There's that kind of mandolin in the background, giving that kind of Mediterranean, almost Godfather type sound as well.
The instruments are brilliant. They kind of just interweave and anticipate each other, and there's lots going on beneath, and it's got a wonderful backing. It feels like something out of Dragon Age Origins in like a dwarf tavern or something. Like, it just has this kind of beautiful richness.
The accordion and violin also give me the first of many Irish feelings on this album. That there is a bit of Kathleen dotted all over this one. And then I always just love brushstrokes on a snare drum. There's just something so simple about it, yet really effective. And there's some fucking phenomenal violin playing on this one as well. A little aside though, there's a lot of debate over Waits' own grammatical errors in his work, whether they're like intentional or not, as they're kind of few and far between. But the transcription for this song in the Orphans handbook is full of contradictions to words as sung by Waits.
Yes.
And like, it leads a lot of people to believe that the lyrics were maybe intentionally intended to be sung as a duet, like with the victim speaking like from the afterworld to her killer. Wow. So rather than a lake, it's a well, and like it's just a lot of swaps from you to me, I to you, and it I don't think it changes the whole nature of the song, but it's like that game Heavy Rain, like it just changing little things here and there can kind of have a bigger impact on the story, but the ending's kind of still the same. But yeah, it's a very weird one. It's been a while since we've had the old album title and track of the same name has had different spellings, but I think Waits is slowly improving his possible dyslexia.
So we come to the next track, which is, I want to say, it's probably both of our first ever experience with Waits, whether we realised it or not.
Subconsciously it is everyone's first Tom Waits song.
We should say it featured in Shrek 2, right?
Shrek 2, and something called The End of Violence.
Right, okay, but I mean, like, yeah, in Shrek 2, someone's playing it in the bar, which is a great
It's actually
touch.
Captain Hook, which is it's probably the greatest seeping of Tom Waits into pop culture since Temptation was on Strictly Come Dancing.
That's true. Yeah. That's true.
And it's just like you go into the villain's tavern and you just hear this, I like my town, and like everyone remembers it. And like, if people say to me, who's Tom Waits, I'll say, have you seen Shrek 2? And that's how you can get them to at least kind of remember it. And there's a great there's a great breathy pump to the opening of a Little Drop of Poison, that sort of and it's very much like the driving part of Knife Chase, which is one of Tom Waits' best instrumental tracks. And again, it's kind of like, Tom, you could have progressed this kind of beatboxing run a bit more, like more vocal manipulation like this would have been great in your later work. Why is none of it on Bad As Me at all? But obviously we'll talk about that in a month. This is also a very commercial Tom Waits song, Just Like a Long Way Home. And this is probably the second also like effortlessly enjoyable song on this middle album for me. Like, you've got very catchy piano. It's like sinister, but also very alluring and beguiling. And there's some very intriguing female backing vocals as well, actually, which kind of almost imitate the wailing stringed instrument sections. I've never heard any backing vocals on a Tom Waits song quite like it, actually. They're very like, oh! Like very banshee, very ethereal like. And it's got another one of those lines where you just see it pop up all over Tom Waits subreddits and Tumblr feeds and Imgurs, which is, "I smoke my friends down to the filter." It's just a classic Tom line. We've got an almost Heart Attack and Vine type line. "Did the devil make the world whilst God was sleeping?" The lyrics themselves are so rich, but there's not much of a deeper thematic meaning to the song outside of like the kind of really cool, wicked lyrics within themselves. Maybe the Little Drop of Poison is alcohol. Maybe it's a little reference to that. But yeah, it's a very surface song, isn't it?
Yeah, I like the lyrics. I agree. I think the lyrics are, whilst the song doesn't have much outward meaning, are brilliant. I really like "The rat always knows why he's in with weasels." Yeah. And I remember when a million was a million. They always have ways to make you pay. But for me, the Little Drop of Poison applies more musically, because like you start with that staccato bebop kind of Thelonious Monk, duh, 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 and then you have that little guitar, just kind of almost like a laughing little gremlin, but it's there just picking away in your ear as the song goes on. It creates this like kind of seething, swirling mass, and throughout the song, more instruments starts to come on. There's a horn, there's backing vocals, as you say, there's drums, there's just things spreading, almost as if a drop of poison has been dropped into a petri dish, and it's just slowly filtering through the song, and you can feel the song growing slightly more maniacal as we go through. And it doesn't need the lyrics to kind of keep it afloat, because it is just such a fantastic mood. And again, we should say this originally is from Shrek, as we say, but 1997 I've got here on the Tom Waits library, so it was from an earlier album. It was from End of Violence, as you said, sorry, that was the first, and then it was used on Shrek.
Have you heard the original
9 years
version?
later. I haven't, no.
It's a lot less theatrical. It's got nowhere near the energy. And in all fairness, sounds like a demo for Alice that wouldn't even have been stolen, if I'm honest. Like, he's got a very maudlin voice in it. It does have some like this great distorted like sweep of guitar playing during the chorus, but like compared to the polish that the Orphan version has, it just sounds very unfinished, and just like I'm glad this wasn't the version we got. And obviously, with a song like this, Tom's kind of in his devil voice mode. Him being older and gravelier is always a plus, always. But yeah, this is a very fun song. There's not a lot to say about it really. It kind of is what it is.
I agree. Yeah, it doesn't have the depth of, say, something like Shiny Things, which I'm scared we're going to disagree on, because I remember you saying you didn't like this one.
Yeah, I was walking through Coventry Park with you on the phone. There were blossom petals floating in the sky, and I had to talk about this kind of naff song really. Oddly enough, it's a song from the original Wojciech play, sung by Carl the Fool, which is kind of who you are to be liking this song.
Yikes.
I know why this didn't make it onto Blood Money. It's because it's not very good. Okay, I'm gonna come right out the gate and say, like, I've never liked Shiny Things. The vocal melody is so atypically awkward, which normally isn't a problem for Tom Waits, but here it tips over the scale of making it a chore and an awkward listen. Like, I do like how he kind of ends each verse like with the start of the next one, so like, those shiny things that go into the next verse, like that. And it's just a shame that I don't like the verses themselves though. And like, I know a lot of people out there going, "Oh, Sam, you don't like this song just because it's Tom Waits in a banjo." And whilst that is kind of partially true, it's mostly due to the fact that the banjo itself follows the weird vocal time signatures and delivery in the first place. star pling pla clo clo pling.
Right.
It's a boring song, man.
Wow.
It's annoying. It's literally just again, Waits going full unplugged is never a bad thing, but like I've you know when you type find into a word document, I've literally just typed in mediocre Waits songs, and I've actually written it about eight times throughout this review. And like many mediocre Waits songs, when they don't go anywhere, they don't go anywhere slowly. And for me, this is one of them. Like not even the Waitsian Alice oboe could actually save this song. And I'd rather not compliment it in case I look like a shiny thing apologist, really.
Well, I don't know how you can accuse a song of being slow because it's 2 minutes 20 and it pulses
It
along
feels like
absolutely
4 minutes
beautifully.
40, mate.
The instrumentation is delicate and wonderful. Whilst I have criticised earlier Tom Waits songs like Martha for kind of holding your hand with the piano melody and guiding the vocal melody, I just think that kind of beautiful combination of the very, very light banjo. It's not a kind of country banjo. It's a very delicate fretted banjo. And then you have the kind of like the pianos building out the arpeggio at the bottom of the chord. It's a very interesting... It feels like Tom's kind of atlas. He's got a world on his back. Duh, duh, duh. It's got kind of a sludgy satisfyingness to it. And, you know, the message is sad, isn't it? You know, he starts off kind of seeing happiness within nature itself. Again, the demands that a crow simply wants a shiny thing, and kind of what we might see as kind of like, oh, he's picking a dime or a toy. It's not really. He's just judging it on its kind of core attributes, and that's how people should be judged. But that's not what happens. And I just love that kind of surging up melody. For me, the end is the best part when you have that kind of searing whistle, kind of Thomas the Tank Engine blare of a note of a violin coming out when all the instruments, kind of similar to Lost in the Harbour. Like it's got a fantastic kind of summation close at the end, you know, and everything comes together, and it's just a wide kind of compelling song. Like, I don't know how you can't get on board. Like, leave me alone, you big old moon. That's just a fantastic opening Waits line. It's such a brilliant scene-setting verse opener.
It really doesn't do anything for me in the worst possible way for a Tom Waits song. Cause
I think this is the most we've ever disagreed on track.
No, you went quite mental when I didn't like Anywhere I Lay My Head.
Oh.
Yeah, we...
Oh, you don't know why Piano's been drinking? I remember that as well.
Yeah, I'm still talking to my therapist about it. And
well, Sam, the world keeps turning.
The world keeps turning. This is for the Pollock film from 2001, which was Ed Harris, wasn't it?
It was, yeah.
Pollock, the guy who pioneered the phrase, well, I could have done that.
Action painting.
Basically, the central conceit of the song is so fucking similar to so many other Tom Waits songs that it does feel a little trite and unnecessary. We've literally just had a song like 2 or 3 songs ago, You Can Never Hold Back Spring, about how things are out of our control and life goes on after death and losing someone you love. You know, relationships are always ending. You know, it's hard. And Tom, yes, you've told us this in better songs, and now I sound like Barney Hopkins for saying things like that. Like so many lesser Bawlers tracks, it really doesn't do anything interesting to make it a memorable ballad either. There's no shift, there's no twist, there's no progression, there's nothing that makes it any different during any different part of the song. And whilst many Waits songs are kind of like this, they will normally have a strong lyrical element to it. But here it's very much a by the numbers piano piece, a very by the numbers lyrical piece.
Yeah.
But, you know, to its credit, there are a bunch of rather juicy lyrics to cherry pick. Like I do love the entirety of the opening verse, but I don't know. Perhaps if this had been put into a shorter, more focused track, it might have been better. The progression of the melody kind of reminds me of Poor Edward, but kind of like a poor imitation of Poor Edward. And it just feels like a lesser Bawlers track to me, and it's a little long as well.
Yeah. No, I agree. I quite like the verses. They're quite somnambulant. They feel quite sleepy and quite zoned out. And then the kind of banjo kind of reinforces the chorus. But it is just the world keeps turning. It's quite it's mournful, but it's kind of annoying almost. I don't hate the song, and I definitely think it's tolerable in the kind of Bawlers landscape. But yeah, it does very little to me. I know what you're saying about the lyrics. I really don't kind of see it. I kind of like the band has stopped playing, but we keep dancing. Kind of an appeal to kind of like, you know, I don't know, afterlife or kind of moving past things. But it just nothing really sticks with me out for this song. And you know, I'll be interested to know where it takes place in Pollock.
Yeah, well,
if it's even because a lot of these songs, like inevitably with these soundtracks, some of them aren't even on the films. They're just kind of inspired by the film. You know, so
well, Pollock was bollocks. So let's just move on to Tell It To Me.
It was well received, wasn't it?
Uh,
I think it was kind of...
I don't know.
Okay.
Ed Harris is a good villain.
I like Ed Harris.
Yeah, he's a... I don't know. I couldn't imagine him like holding a movie by himself.
No, he's good in the Truman Show though.
He's great in The Rock as well, actually.
Yes. Yeah. Tell It To Me, Sam.
This was previously recorded as a duet between rambling Jack Elliott and Louise from a film called Friends of Mine. This version differs from the original with Elliott's absence and a kind of change in time signature, but this is a very gentle, chilled out, warming acoustic ballad from Waits. The guitar, and I'm going to say this throughout this episode as well, the guitar is very VH1 Storytellers with that kind of grainy vibration to it.
Yep.
You've even got some Blue Valentine's Hawaiian melodical twang for the solo, and it's a nice change from Waits' sort of heartbreaker women folk. Like, this man's kind of broken his own heart. It's his own fault. The lyrics themselves don't really have any delicious nuggets, but Tom does sing it with his typical sort of downtrodden desperation, and it's just another one of those Bawlers tracks that's never really grabbed me before, but I can appreciate its softer charms. Waits doing a Waits story in a Waitsian way. And also, like, it's not nearly close to being a classic, but placing it directly after the kind of flubs of Shiny Things and World Keeps Turning for me kind of drains away any of the impact it may have had. And perhaps maybe if it appeared after a less downbeat track, its gentle charms may have worked a little better. I don't know.
Yeah, this could have maybe even worked as an intro track. It's just got that kind of simplicity to it, especially with the chorus and the appeal directly to the listener. But yeah, aside from Bobby Black's steel guitar, which I love the steel guitar in Young at Heart. I just love that sort of guitar playing. I find it fascinating. I love the kind of high notes you can hit and the wonderful shapes you can cast. And the instrumentation of this is wonderful. But yeah, as a song, I don't know, it just doesn't... There's nothing too strong here. Like, you know, this is why I was saying in the intro that I was a little bit confused about Ballers, because it does kind of catch me off guard for every song that I really, really like Shiny Things, like Long Way Home, etc. Then there are these ones where I'm just like, oh, this is kind of... Is Orphans just a dumping ground?
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm not saying this song's that bad, but like, it's just kind of like, it's not really proving its welcome for me. There's nothing here to really keep me listening back. It just feels quite stock. We've listened to so much Weight, so much genius, and this one just is kind of, it's fine.
We've said it on many episodes that Tom can write ballads in his sleep, and Ballers is just a real testament.
This is just a 3-minute pop song, you know, and this is what Tom can do. But Never Let Go, Sam.
I like this one.
Yeah, this has got an interesting thrust, hasn't it? This is definitely the most kind of like upbeat song so far, and kind of could, I guess, it got a softness to it that kind of qualifies it for Ballers, but it's definitely got a kind of Brawlers, like, you know, really intensity there. The images initially are very, very exciting, and kind of when you look back to the song, you realise that kind of the big swing from a rope, like that comes quite late.
Let go of your hand. Like,
that's all you need to know, because the lyrics are quite confusing.
Yeah.
Like, ring the bell backwards and bury the axe, fall down on your knees in the dirt, I'm tied to the mast between water and wind. You know, it's that kind of thing, like Peter denied Judas, that kind of calling of that kind of theological world. The Watchman's making his rounds, but yeah, it is almost a, dare I say, power ballad, like, in a way, like in the best possible way. I don't mean that negatively, but like, it's a very satisfying listen, and kind of one that I always remember. You know, this came out in this place he plays in the end credits of a film called American Heart. This was written in 1993, and this was recorded in 1992. So this is a really old song for Orphans. You know, this is going back 14 years before its release. It's going back more than 20 years now. So this is around the Bone Machine era, that kind of era. And I don't know about you, but this song does feel like a good credits song, doesn't it? It does have the sense of kind of an ending world, and it has the sort of bagpipes at the end. And
I remember, I don't know what film it was, but there was a Foo Fighters song from Wasting Light. We keep talking about this album far too much for a Tom Waits podcast, but I remember thinking and looking over to my to Danny, who I was with. I said, why do they play these songs in credits? And is it literally just to keep your butt in the seat to watch the credits? And if so, this song would actually do that. I would kind of like, I kind of like this. I can catch the next bus home. It's a very nice song. Other people like me may also be forgiven for thinking that upon first listen, this is just picture in a frame. The opening
the piano,
it does sound very picture in a framing.
Similarly, it's a bit faster, but I get what you're saying. Yeah,
this is the best of the post Bone Machine bellow, though. He really does it well, and I love how we're just so deep into Waits kicking ass at the piano again. It feels like, you know, he's really putting a lot of gusto and force back into it. And we even have some almost like Bones Howe-esque string orchestral production in this one. It really is kind of like, flourishing and light and frilly, and again kind of evoking that earlier Waits. We've even got some like in the neighborhood type drums, and it's got that sort of kind of Civil War marching sound. But for some reason, the drums come in one line before Waits mentions the drums themselves, which is either a missed trick on Waits' part, or just like a middle finger to music critics who would gush over such an inclusion.
Perhaps both.
Lyrically, it's somewhere between "Lie to Me," "Hold On," and "I Hope I Don't Fall in Love with You," which is probably like the greatest gamut of any Waits song. Like, he does dare this woman who he's hopefully in love with to like do bad things to him, but he's also like defiantly hopeful that their love will still work out despite the odds. And for me, this is a song that is just, it's optimism against adversity. Again, a very American thing. And it's just beautiful in its ability to kind of get that rousing mode out of you. And it's a song that, for me, inspires a sense of victory in the listener, even though it's mostly just about holding on, really. And it like I'll never let go of your hand. Again, anyone can relate to that kind of feeling. Anyone can listen to this song and know what Tom's talking about, even if the verses are almost nonsensical. We also he also references the 5 points, which is the first sort of post Rain Dogs trip back to New York for Waits. Right. And to anyone who's seen Gangs of New York, you know what the 5 points are, and the bloody history that is there is only too real. Weirdly though, this wasn't the only song written for American Heart. People who bought the vinyl, 20 kilogram, 20 pound collection of Orphans on vinyl, would know that there was another song, American Heart, Crazy About My Baby, which is another really good...
the Fats Waller track. But we'll push on from a high point of the album to, in my view, a low point of the album. I really can't stand Fanning Street.
Meandering Street,
I think it's genuinely one of Tom's most indulgent tracks. It's really boring. He mentions Fanning Street 16 times in the 5 minutes. It's over predictable guitar arpeggios and strums. Don't go down. It's a lifeless melody. There's really nothing there. He's just inhabiting these same kind of civilian populations that he's wont to. The desire to have much more, all the glitter and the raw. Now I know that this is where the sidewalk ends. But just, there's nothing original here. And the fact that it's so long is such a audacious slap in the face. Like, I would have preferred if you could have included one of those other bastards we just mentioned rather than this song. This was obviously on an album that you love, Sam. I dislike, Wicked Grin. This is another John Hammond track, and I don't feel it here for me. It just doesn't move me in any way, but perhaps that's because Scarlett Johansson also covered this. I don't know.
Basically, this is what if The Day After Tomorrow was about streets and love lost. Right. We've mentioned before, there are songs that Tom can bash out one a day and mean that in the best possible way, but Fanning Street is in a negative. Like, I can't really point out like any specific flaws. It is just generic and run of the mill Waits. When compared to something, say, like Don't Go Into That Barn, it's just like woefully underwhelming.
Forgot that track. Yeah. What a track. And
it is a good, like, powerless Waitsian voice. I've always kind of got a soft spot for it. It feels overly earnest. Waits talks in Rock Classics magazine. Oh no, it's NPR's World Cafe. Sorry. And he mentions Leadbelly's got a song of the same title. Obviously, Leadbelly did have a song called Fanning Street. He died the same day after I was born, and I read a lot about him. I heard all his records.
Ain't going down.
He really speaks to me. I had a chance at one point to be a part of a compilation and pick a Leadbelly song. One of his distant relatives had his guitar and had been beneath her bed for the last 50 years or whatever, and she was going to let everybody on the record play his guitar and do a song. But I don't think they can get the clearance from Alan Lomax, who has a lot of his songs tied up. I guess the whole Lomax estate, it's kind of a mess legally. That would have been great for Tom to play on, like, his reincarnated version's guitar. But yeah, there's not... it's kind of just like a mournful cautionary tale, but it's almost like reluctant to be good, isn't it? It feels like it feels like it's like tiptoeing around. Like I could do a better song, and just like, you know, like how like Alice songs would just go balls to the wall like halfway through.
Yeah.
I'm waiting for something like that on this album, because Waits pulls the rug out from under your feet. He does it constantly on Brawlers, and on Bastards you're lost and
Oh my God.
and confused. But here, it's very much like walking to the shops and back. It's just like nothing.
It's the just right porridge. It's kind of, there's nothing too invigorating about it, and that's and that's testament, because again, like the Bawlers' doubt stems from stuff like this, where you're going from a track, like we're just mentioning, into Little Man, where it's just, both of these songs are just not that satisfying to listen to, you know, Fanning Street and Little Man. I don't like the melody at all. I don't like the way Waits sings.
Well, okay.
He has that flat voice.
Look,
it's just...
We should say that Waits didn't write this one. It's written by...
No, he didn't.
It's written by not even a singer-songwriter, written by a saxophonist. So that
Yep.
he was basically his saxophonist, Teddy Edwards, on Heart Attack and Vine, as well as the accompanying tour. And Waits kind of gave him his first break, really, and got his first solo album recorded. So it's cool that you know, Waits did that, and you know, kind of helped his friend along, and it feels like a very Small Change-esque song, maybe even one from the heart. And
it does feel early, doesn't it? It's got that kind of very busy piano, kind of Blue Valentine-esque.
Well, like, the fact that Teddy's a jazz artist only makes sense. That, like, you know, Tom's going to refer back to his sort of club shyster mode. The trumpet is very sort of like the kind of Waits that I love, but it's a kind of a charming novelty, isn't it? Like,
yeah,
like, and it's a kind of a tip of the hat to fans that have seen him grow into something completely different from maybe what they wanted.
Do you not find the sentiment of the song quite weird? Where like it's basically the guy's kind of talking about like how the harsh lessons of life, and then kind of it's all directed to his son on his knee.
Yeah,
kind of,
well, like, you know, it's
I don't know.
Seeing Tom adopt the personality of like the more of a loving cautionary tale father is kind of interesting. You know, he never really writes these kind of characters.
I think one of the reasons I do like this song though is more about Orphans as a whole. It's great that Orphans lets us hear these tracks.
Yeah.
Because otherwise, okay, so Tom was on this thing in 1991. I bet most people who even loved Mule didn't know that. Like, you know, it's just kind of like, how would you know that? Even pre-internet, even post-internet, that's still hard to know. So I am very gracious for that, but I think we should move on from Little Man. Do you have anything more to say on Little Man? It's just that kind of just nothing track.
Teddy Edwards has a little quote about him. He said, Tom Waits is the one who got me my contract with Polygram. He's wonderful. He's America's best lyricist since Johnny Mercer. He came down to the studio of the Mississippi Lad album. That's the one I did for Polygram. And he sang 2 of my songs. He wouldn't accept any money, just trying to give me the best boost that I could. So that's a nice, cute little story. Tom kind of reverts back to his... Like, it's almost like a breathy Blue Valentine's-esque croon, isn't it? But yeah, it's just like, it's kind of like an imitation of Tom's Piano Man, and it just doesn't quite reach it, does it?
No, it does not.
So we've got It's Over.
Another one that is just a retreat backwards, that feels kind of out of that kind of Heart Attack, you know, heavy saxophone, barfly vibe.
I actually can't remember it. I'm trying to think about it. I can't remember.
Ascending piano licks. It's over. Do, 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 do.
No.
Yeah. It's just kind of got like a sort of croonery sort of vibe. It's from Liberty Heights, a film that Tom was in. His features on the poster, or his name features on the poster, but he's not on the poster or something like that. I put it on Twitter recently. If anyone's seen Liberty Heights,
I remember that. Yeah.
Get in contact. And also just get in contact with any things you think about Bastards as well. We'd love to read them out in the next episode. So that's tomwaitspodcast@gmail.com, @tomwaitspodcast on Twitter. But yeah, this is a kind of, again, that's the problem with Ballers. A lot of these songs are quite forgettable, really. Apparently this was also included, as well as being on Liberty Heights, it was also in Wojciech. So Tom was just kind of like farming out his songs, like,
I'll chuck it in Wojciech.
This late 90s comedy. Do you want this German song? But yeah, it's, you know, there's a few nice lyrics in here. You left me, all you left me was a feather on an unmade bed. You know,
oh, thanks.
but it's not. It's just not that compelling again as a track. It's just kind of, there are these dry spots on Orphans, and I apologise if anyone enjoys these tracks. But for me, songs like It's Over and Little Man, there's no invention there. I don't hear the real Tom in there. And there are some tracks upcoming that are just some of his best work of recent time for sure. But like this one, Sam, I just wait for it to be over.
If this song had a bit more oomph or like discernible personality, it could shine through as a classic. But it's just got nothing to it again. It isn't really like it isn't very in theme with Blood Money either. Like it's kind of like a man who wants to like let go of the past, whereas like the characters in Wojciech are very sort of like enamored by the past and like hold on to things and don't let go. There's some really good like xylophone marimba, which is something I could say. But if you want marimba, go listen to Swordfish. You know what? Dare I say it? It's like a bad Foreign Affair type song. It really is.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's an ultra slow piano piece with a very heavy sense of melancholy, and weirdly the horn aspects ironically harken back to the kind of Delta blues sound on Brawlers, but in a weird kind of very jarring way. And we get these little tweets of brass, and then it's kind of and then it's over. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
One of the biggest insults we give on this show is I wouldn't put it on a compilation. I wouldn't put it on my iPod, and it really is just that.
No, I agree, and the next song I definitely would though if I have to go. And one of the reasons that I like it so much is it's a brilliant demonstration of why Orphans is such a great idea for Tom and Kathleen and all their songs.
Yes,
because this is from Frank's Wild Years. This is from the play Frank's Wild Years, 1986. The play, so the play that in our Frank's Wild Years episode we all mentioned that kind of we'll never be able to see this play. There's like kind of various adaptations, but some of the original songs never been heard. And this is a song from 1986. Re-recorded in 2006 for Orphans, and it's brilliant to see how even in 86 this to me is an Alice song. I don't know about you, it has that intimate piano, it has that beautiful sense of loss and recollection, and I just think this song is absolutely fantastic. This song fulfills the promise that the opening songs of this album kind of were bargaining with, the idea that it would be these lush kind of piano things that work so well, feel so intimate, and I don't belong here and you can't go with me. It's such a sad thing, isn't it? Because again, it's similar to Long Way Home. It's kind of the admission that I have to keep going, and like it's almost audacious of the protagonist to ask the woman, will you wait for me? I'm not going to wait for you though, and you can't come with me because you'll slow me down. It's selfish guy who, even though the song's quite beautiful, when you pick under the skin you realise that the demands he's putting on this poor woman is atrocious.
This is sung by Frank in Act 2. He's on like a park bench, which is like dreaming about dancing with Willa. Again, a character who I've never heard about whilst researching Frank's Wild Year before. Like,
but do check out the Frank's Wild Years episode if you're listening to the pod and haven't heard that one. That was a good episode. Went deep on that episode.
But even on Orphans, this play is still a weird mystery. Does this sound like an original recording to you, or like a re-recording though?
I think this is original. I think
it's very on the Nickelly. But he gives it that kind of same detached, sympathetic manner of something, again, like Innocent When You Dream 78, with that kind of grain. To this song's credit, unlike Shiny Things on Wojciech, this does feel like it could have actually fit very comfortably on Frank's Wild Years, and it would have been great if it had just been popped on, really. It's quite on the Nickelly, both in kind of its piano style and in like initial vocal melody, and you know what, like, in terms of just putting a bit of piano on the Franks album, it would have been a nice change of pace. To be fair, because I really do have a soft spot for this quite tame little song.
It's too tame.
Yeah,
for Franks,
it's not as audacious or theatrical or kind of like off the wall, but it's just really nice. It's a very mournful track, and I like how he doesn't blame the woman as well if she does move on though. Like he kind of does have to accept it. But from a song that kind of gets you down a bit, very introspective, we've got probably the most fun track on the album up next, and it's a testament to Waits' ability to put happy songs next to sad songs. We're kind of out of the mire of Ballers now. It's the songs are going to be better on average from now on. We've got Goodnight Irene, Tom.
Yeah,
it's one of the happiest songs for me. This is.
Doesn't his wife die in it? I'm trying to follow the story.
Yeah, like
it's hard to follow.
Yeah,
And he's
drug
talking about
overdoses
taking
and divorces
morphine and
suicides.
dying.
But again,
And you
like
find that
Widow's
fulfilling,
Grove, it's so like uplifting and well sung and raucous and barroom and drinking esque. Yeah,
Great backing vocals,
like,
isn't there? Kind of warbling.
there's such
underneath.
joy against such as like and sweet musical arrangements that like it just for me it kind of transcends the lyrics really, like just like he just is sung so well, like it's a roaring cheer, isn't it? And it's just like, you know, unlike, you know, Jackie and Judy, which kind of sticks up like a sore thumb. This has just got a great weight in contradictory songwriting technique, and to me it's so easily delightful and enjoyable. And like, I love how Waits is singing along with himself in the background, like imagine a bar just full of Tom Waitses all like arm in arm holding beers aloft in the air. And it's, you know, dry as a bone Waits can still knock out these drinking tracks with such a mastery, and you are begging to sing along with this one.
You are. We should say this is Goodnight Irene, or Irene, which is a 20th century American folk standard. This is called into Tom Waits' Library. Some sources claim the version popularised by Leadbelly in the 1940s is based on an 1886 song by Gussie L. Davis. Leadbelly himself said that he'd learned it from his uncle. It was a US #1 hit for the folk group The Weavers in 1950. It has since been recorded by a number of artists in pop, country, folk and rock styles. In 2002, Leadbelly's 1936 recording received the Grammy Hall of Fame award. A contemporary version of the song by Frank Sinatra was issued by Columbia Records. So the song is obviously a huge deal. Tom is one of lots and lots of people who've recorded this number. And yeah, I find this very satisfying. The pump organ, as you say, the sense of release, Lord, I've been changed, that kind of gospel, earthly sense of revelation. It is fantastic to hear Tom in this mode. And how interesting that another Leadbelly cover, going down to the well, and now this one. I'm not sure if this one on Bass. I don't think so. It wouldn't really make sense, would it? But obviously Leadbelly was a incredible influence on so many people, from Kurt Cobain to Waits to I'm sure many other people. He was hugely influential, and yeah, it's a great track. It's not one that I'm too kind of vexed about. I'm not going to put it on a playlist, but I like that everybody at the end, it reminds me of kind of like the opening of Black Rider, the kind of P.T. Flea kind of thing, you know.
P.T. Flea.
And, but it's a fun ride, but you know, it's not a standout for me, but it's not a bad track.
Let's move on to Fall of Troy, which is the second song from Dead Man Walking, everyone's least favourite Sean Penn film, really. Weirdly, though, this was actually featured on the Beautiful Maladies album, which I didn't know. I also found it weird that the Beautiful Maladies album still, obviously, like we've mentioned before, how Bone Machine doesn't feel like an island album; it does feel like an anti-album. Obviously, this song, it's weird to have like just things from Swordfish Trombones and Bone Machine and Dead Man Walking all on the same album. It must be all over the place, really, in one listen. This is another Tom Waits protest song against violence, aka the other one on Orphans that kind of gets sidelines because of the juggernaut that is The Road to Peace. But it does mean, you know, the Fall of Troy isn't worth exploring. Like even the pun in the title itself is enough to like warrant it a deeper look. But it's a much more smaller and self-contained story than The Road to Peace. It just concerns itself with the killing of an 18-year-old boy named Troy in a robbery, and a lad called Evelyn James over a card game. Very similar to that scene in Goodfellas when the gangsters' wives are discussing a similar occurrence. Like, you know, we're just discussing a card game and then boom, he's dead. The randomness of violence.
Yeah, no, it's absolutely fantastic, and the bridge is terrific as well. Why cook dinner? Why make my bed? Why come home at all? Out the door and through the woods, there's a world where nothing grows. Again, this rejection of civilization that we've seen exhibited on Long Way Home and stuff like that. But it's a sort of anti-gun song, isn't it, at its heart? Really, it's a beautiful song that kind of mixes both kind of like horrific events that have happened and the people struggling with them, and the world outside of those events. She's trying to find her own way home, boy. She's trying to find her own way home, and then cryptically the song ends: my legs ache, my heart is sore, the well is full of pennies. It's the well. Okay. It's the well is full of pennies. Yeah.
But and, that hook, you know, they have to find their own way home, is such a. It's such a good hook, to be fair. It's like something from one of the sort of acoustic ballads from Real Gone, just that kind of like real hard hitting heartbreak. Like the line,
sure.
With guns too big for their hands, pretty much tells the whole story really about, and just
Yep.
evokes how Tom feels about the tragedy of how easy violence can manifest itself within children.
Young Nick, he just
Yeah,
went bad that day.
and it's got another fantastic opening Waitsy line that sets the tone. It's the same
Oh.
with men as it is with horses and dogs. Nothing wants to die. It's brilliant. He talks about this in a KCRW-FM. He just says there was a news article about 2 kids that were involved in a shooting, and that they were very young kids, and it was in New Orleans. So of course Tom would sing about it. I wish they were still in New Orleans, really.
Well, it's the New Orleans feel, the kind of the Tin Pan Alley neighborhood band feel is manifested in the next song, which is one of my favourites of this album, actually. As I said before, it's the oldest we go into the Tom
84.
archives in Orphans. It's 84, Take Care of All of My Children. And, you know, we shouldn't be affected by context, but in the same way American Heart, I was thinking of Never Let Go, you know, playing over the credits sort of thing. I can't help thinking of the film for which Tom wrote this for, which I haven't seen. I've watched bits of. It's very depressing,
you have
called
managed to
Streetwise.
find bits of it, because it's like the Ark of the Covenant of documentaries.
Right, there's a few YouTube clips of it. It's basically about child poverty in New York. It's very, very depressing, and Tom wrote this beautiful, beautiful song, and I just love the sense of hopelessness and despair in this track, but also uplift. It's just kind of like, you know, very, very sad. A man's belief in the higher power is kind of like allowing him to transcend this world. And I love the bright and early Sunday morning with like, it's just got a really nice kind of redemptive quality, a nice gospel element to it. And don't you ever trust the devil? You know, it's got kind of arch element to it as well. I just love, he feels like a preacher to me. He feels like someone coming over the horizon with the sun behind him and just kind of ushering in this light, even though the song kind of, the way the horns fall, you know what I mean? There is a kind of patheticness almost about it. In
like
a certain way.
it's a song that essentially triumphs over death. The singer acknowledges that she's going to be passing on to the other side, but he or she takes solace in the knowledge that the Lord, will be with us soon enough. And yeah, it's sad that someone dies, but like any funeral, it's meant to be a celebration, and the song conveys that perfectly. What I will say is, though, it's not obviously Tom really doesn't even sometimes see the things that he writes for movies, but there's obviously a definite theme of parenthood, and it's very strong in this song. But is the parent in this song truly caring? Yes, the song is called "Take Care of All of My Children," so there is a desire for the kids to be looked after. But when this parent's gone, he says, "Put all of my possessions in Jesus' name," rather than giving anything to their kids. So it's kind of like, hinting that, like, perhaps like a lot of the parents in the documentaries, like a lot of these parents do have the best intentions for their kids, but other things will get in the way, and perhaps parents don't always do right by their children. Like, other things might be more important, and it's a sad thing, really. And like the parent in the song also seemingly knows when they're going to die, like bright and early Sunday morning, and take care of all my children sounds almost like a letter, like left to be found. Like, perhaps is this some sort of like fucked up suicide note, and that's why one of these kids is on the street,
Well, perhaps, yeah. Ralph Carney was interviewed about this song.
It's been a while, hasn't it? Actually, since we've had some Ralph Carney.
It has, old friend. And he says Tom was doing a couple of songs for a documentary called Streetwise, and he wanted to have a kind of Salvation Army sounding band. I had a street band at the time, and we just hit it off, I guess. Sometimes he would ask me to play 2 horns at once, and he liked me to play the bass, clarinet, and not. But he doesn't like flutes. It's hard not to become attached to working with him, but he seems to like to change players a lot. So I guess I was lucky to have worked with him more than most.
Wasn't Carney a bit
Ralph.
upset that he wasn't on... Which album was it?
It might be Mule, maybe? I'm not quite sure. Yeah, some one of those albums. But yeah, not too much to say about this track again, but I just think it's a wonderful kind of uplifting song, even though it does have a kind of darker message. It sounds like it's from this era. It sounds pre-Ray Dogs.
It's a Celtic sea shanty, isn't it? It's like Tom does great ballads about death and great religious ballads, and it's great that he just combines the two so perfectly. And we even have some more in the neighborhood kind of drums, and there's this great little tingles at the start, and it's almost like wind chimes. You're there on the beach where the funeral's taking place, and you've just got this brilliant military funeral trumpet again, very uplifting, like a lot of the songs on this album. Now we come to another song that we might be disagreeing on. Down There by the Train.
Right.
It was a song that appeared on the Johnny Cash album, American Recordings. Was this the last album he did before he died?
I'm not sure if it's the last, but yeah, basically towards the end of his life, he released a lot of these albums, these American recordings albums, where he just covered artists with.
Is it the one with Hurt by Nine Inch Nails?
It's of that collection. I don't know if it's that exact CD, but yeah. So he did that, and what an honour! I definitely know that Tom was touched by that. Obviously, Tom was probably. I mean, obviously he was a huge Johnny Cash fan, no doubt about it, and you wouldn't be surprised, would you? So yeah, it was a massive honour for Tom actually. But yeah, Bone Machine outtake as well. You know.
Yeah, no, I didn't actually know. He was talking to Jim Jarmusch about that. And he said, "Man, you have so many songs. There are other songs you played for me that aren't on Bone Machine, like Filipino Box Spring Hog." And Tom Waits says, "Yeah, there's Tell It to Me, Mexican song, and In the Reaper Barn." I was like, "Oh, okay. So that wasn't actually written for Alice in Germany," which surprised me actually, because obviously, oh no, wait, no, Alice would have been written before, surely, or after. Yeah. So perhaps he tried to put In the Reaper Barn on Bone Machine, perhaps.
Maybe.
A Suicide Pact ballad, and then a couple for John Hammond at the same time, and one called Down There by the Train. We couldn't find a way to either make it feel good, so we just left it, and it's just sitting there. And it kind of did. And it you know how like the Beatles kind of had songs that they just gave out that they didn't really have anything to do with, like. The Stones had I Want to Be Your Man. It does feel like Waits isn't giving Cash one of his greatest tracks ever. I think Rod Stewart and Bruce Springsteen got better Waits in tracks to kind of work with.
Yes.
But the Cash version's pretty damn good also. But for me, what I like about the song is just the passion in which Waits howls the chorus. Down there by the train. Like it's like this such wailing. In such an introspective song, it's such an uplifting contrast for me, and I don't know why this didn't end up on an album. Like, it's as good as some of the badder stuff on Mule Variations for me. Like this could have been on. Like, this could have been on. Okay, then, you know, like Big Face Money and stuff like that that's put on the Japanese release.
Yep.
This could have been on that easily. I just like the idea that the place seems to be this, like, obviously it's the ultimate Tom Waits metaphor, so it's going to be the ultimate junction whereby all sins are forgiven. You know, perhaps it's literally is heaven, perhaps the train itself is a metaphor for the ride that is death, but it's just a song about how, you know, the Lord does in fact forgive us for all our sins, or at least that's what we tell ourselves. And I like the fact that the last verse is almost like sung by God himself, like he's still raising Cain, the first traitor, and he knows that we're still not perfect, like humans are like an ongoing project. And there's the ultimate amalgamation of the American traitor, Judas Iscariot carrying John Wilkes Booth, like one betrayed Christ, one betrayed Daniel Day-Lewis. You know, yeah, for me it's very simple in a good way. The piano playing resonates in my ear very, very nicely, and it's a song for me that is about Tom Waits and about his voice. His voice is just brilliant. Waits was talking on NPR's World Cafe, another radio show, and he just said, "I had a song covered by Johnny Cash," and it was like a huge thrill for me. You know, he would change some of it, and I thought, oh boy, well, I guess he must have thought it needed changing something. I should have talked to him before I finished. He probably could have helped me finish it. So a Tom Waits Johnny Cash collaboration could have been something brilliant.
Yeah, for sure.
But now on to a long-standing collaborating partner of Tom Waits, who regretfully is appearing on this album again. We have Danny Says, Tom.
Danny Says. Danny Says is another Ramones track, another cover, but I actually really like this song. I think this is really, really well done. I love the songs where you can hear the fretboards, you can hear the fingers sliding up the strings, the intimate sound of it. I love this way the song kind of turns. It has kind of almost like the way a Shakespearean sonnet has the sestina where it swaps on the last couplet. Like, it has this really nice way where it inverts its structure, and it's really satisfying. So you kind of have the Danny says we gotta go, and it's like, you know, can't wait to be with you tomorrow, it just has a nice kind of up and down sort of thing. And if you listen to the original, which I did, it's on the same album as Return of Jackie and Judy. I do prefer it. I still don't like the Ramones, I have to say. I find the guy's voice very hard to listen to, but then again, I guess a lot of people find Tom Waits hard voice to listen to, so I understand your differences.
Yeah, but they're wrong, and we're
yeah. Tom does good work here. It's interesting that he, you know, he's not taking a rock song and rockified it. He's taken a rock song and kind of like paired it. pared it down to its essences, really farmed out the great melodic ingredients there, and created something that's very sweet and definitely works within the whole kind of, environment of Ballers.
Yeah, the Ramones version for me is kind of like a pre-Nirvana plodding dirge that sounds like it should be in some sort of gritty American remake of Billy Elliot.
Right.
But Tom, as he does with all of the songs, he adds greater soul, greater spirit, greater gravitas, and the opening for me is almost note for note the exact same as the way he plays Jersey Girl from the VH1 Storytellers gig. If you go back and listen to it, it's very very similar. But lyrically, this succeeds more than Jackie and Judy, purely because it sounds more like a Tom Waits song, and it's got that matter of fact observational quality of the minutiae of everyday life of a musician. Seeing You Tomorrow, it's a great Waitsian hook. Any song that has Waits missing someone and being able to see them tomorrow always has that unique balance of yearning and desire, but that kind of unseen potential for it to go wrong as well. And we all know Tom hates being away from his family, especially being on promotional tours, which help things like podcasts get the proper quotes. So the line like record stores and interviews, "I can't wait to be with you tomorrow," does have a particular resonance to it. He really has the voice of someone who's kind of had enough, is too tired for this crap, and just wants to go home. Like I've said, it does kind of evoke the best of VH1 Storytellers live set, like I said, with that scratchy fretboard, and got a great little bit of heavy twang just before Waits comes back into the verse for a second time. And I was kind of hoping for a little solo, but you can't have everything. The Danny in the song is the Ramones manager, isn't it?
Yeah.
One of the things he's listed at on the Tom Waits library: journalist, record executive, manager, influential figure of the New York punk scene, and then a scene maker, which I've never heard before.
Yeah.
A scene maker.
Yeah, like a scenester. Yeah, it's very like HBO vinyl kind of thing.
One of your least favourite HBO outings for a while.
Yeah. Anyone that's seen that show, I'm still going to watch it. I've watched all the episodes, but it's just the cameos are good. The John Lennon cameo is laughable, though. Watch it on YouTube; it's all terrible. But
I must admit, I don't think I'm ever going to watch Deadwood. But anyway, that's another story. Let's
enough about Little Man.
Yeah. Let's get on to Jane's Blue Wish, which is another one that's really short. It was on the Big Bad Love soundtrack from 2002. Tom, can you do a song from like Avatar or Transformers? Something that people are gonna friggin' hear. Like I've never seen or heard of half of these movies that he's done soundtracks for. Like if he could just do Captain America: Civil War, like a song for the closing credits, that'd be fantastic. This is another Tom Waits in an armchair and a guitar song.
Yeah, I like this song.
Got more dirty scratching.
Great imagery. The smoke ties the roofs to the sky. There's a hole overhead, but it's only the moon.
We've got more Dish running away with a spoon, like we've had from Everything You Could Think of from Alice and Little Boy Blue from One from the Heart. Tom's Love of Children's songs is one of the main staples of his canon, so we're getting a nice revert again. It's a cute track that doesn't outstay its welcome. It's very much in that Johnsburg, Illinois mode.
Yeah, lovely solo as well at the end.
Yeah, he has these songs where it's just like he has a singular idea that cannot be fitted into another song, but equally can't be stretched either. So he just kind of flashes in and out, and no one gets hurt really. But like a lot of mediocre Waits songs that are in the good half of mediocre Waits songs, there's a flash of brilliance that kind of almost does save it. We're gifted with this great Satchmo trumpet solo right in the middle of the song.
Lovely.
It's kind of the opposite of Take Care of All My Children's trumpet, because it's got kind of more tangible emotion behind it, and it's like a lot less ambiguous about what it wants you to feel. And it's my favourite part of the song. But as with a lot of flashes of brilliance, it is just a flash, and it kind of comes and go. But it's pretty sweet how the words of Johnny Cash himself is what bookends the song. But like a lot of the Orphans tracks on Ballers, it seems to lack that purposeful narrative thread of a Kathleen Brennan supervised song.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Sometimes it's difficult when you're doing these episodes to kind of be as critical, because this is a collection of miscellaneous, isn't it? It's kind of assembled together rather than something with a kind of cohesive vision. But I agree, yeah. I like this. I think I like this song a little bit more, but like It's got a really nice kind of melodic core to it, and as you say, yeah, the Johnny Cash inclusion. So yeah, the quote being, "Life's a path lit only by the light of those I've loved," which is a similar kind of closing epilogue tongue twister to "The End" by the Beatles. The love you make is equal to the love you take, or something like that. You know, that kind of.
Which Lennon said was the best line McCartney ever.
Really, I don't like that line.
Yeah.
I love that song. In the end, yeah, great track. But yeah, Tom said in 2003 on Johnny Cash's passing, he said, quote, "Johnny Cash said, 'Life is a path lit only by the light of those we love. Wherever he is now, he's travelling on a well-lit path. He's the patron saint of every kid with a guitar. Songwriters learn how to write songs from listening to each other. He's like a wise old tree full of songs. I spent many days under his branches.'"
Arliss Howard, in the soundtrack notes for the Big Bad Love soundtrack recording, she basically says, "I have sung lullabies to my children as I imagined they were intended, but lately I find myself singing them under my breath when I'm alone. It's quite a thing in this little amazement when you're walking down a long old logging track and break out into a meadow lit by a quarter moon. My gratitude to the Brennan Waits family is that mysterious and immense. Tom and Kathleen look good together. I don't know how they work, the mechanics of it, but sitting in the restaurant asking me what kind of song I had in mind, they just looked good. When we heard the demos, there were highway sounds on the track, and then I remembered Kathleen saying that Tom would work in a moving car with a tape recorder and a tuba. I'd love to see that. There are so many great Waitsian images that David Lynch needs to put into a film with Ron Perlman. That's not an Onion article joke. Yeah. That was very annoying how many people on Reddit fell for that one, if I'm honest. But we're coming to the end now. This is the last song, Tom.
Fairy tales.
Right, I've just got to say, right, the opening lines of this song may be the most Tom Waitsian voice ever to be on a Tom Waits album by Tom Waits. Like, this is an obscure song, don't get me wrong, but if you need to perfect your Tom Waits crooner voice, then you need to listen to Young at Heart. Fairy tales will come true. It's
very Disney villain, isn't it? It's fantastic.
Tom would be a great Disney villain, actually.
He would. Oh, and the
Frozen 2.
The fact that this is a Sinatra song originally, you can feel it in the lyrics. The lyrics have this kind of winking to the crowd. They're kind of hilarious. If you just survive to 105, think of all you derive out of being alive. Like, that's multis, that's bars. Like, that's great. Like, the internal rhyme there is fantastic. And just the whole ploughing of the whole idea of Young at Heart, and and I love just the way the melody kind of like skips over itself really lovely. And this is the best part you'll ever hear. You know, it's just got a lovely kind of delicate nature to it. And I think this is a wonderful track. And again, it's that thing that I loved on Tell It To Me as well. The kind of the steel guitar over the track. It just sounds wonderful.
If you're going to do covers on an album, and if you're going to end with a cover, why not just do the most stereotypical artist to ever be covered? Yep. And no, it's not Waits covering Yesterday. It is, of course, Frank Sinatra. And like Waits has like honoured the original crooner, like ever since the cover of his second album. So we obviously know Waits has been influenced by this guy. I'm glad he didn't like rush into doing a cover. But so this song opened up the song of the movie of the same name, Young at Heart, which Sinatra starred with Doris Day, and like it really is a standard, you know, like. It's like Waits doesn't give us Put a Spell on You or Feeling Good or Somewhere Over the Rainbow. So for Waits to go this commercial is a true testament to his love of Sinatra. And whilst it's kind of like he does croon. Boy does he croon, and it's like he's trying to imitate that young man he was back at the piano over 30 years ago, when he would be trying to imitate such an artist. And it's like an ironic jab at his old self and the career his old self was aiming for when he actually was young at heart. And now he, having seen the career path that he had went on, he's probably glad that it went the way he did, and he simply tips his hat to the guy that started him off on the track, but for whom he really doesn't need anymore. And we've got some great SpongeBob guitar again, some very pleasant whistling.
Yep.
Whistling in Waits' discography is actually surprisingly rare.
It feels straight out of a Warner Brothers like 1950s musical. Like, it just feels so true.
Fairy tales. It's such a good song.
It is brilliant, and he was interviewed for Word magazine, and
This is a great
yeah,
quote.
and they said you've recorded a song indelibly associated with Sinatra, Young at Heart, on this new album. It's too corny to be true. And Tom replies, yeah, that song always moved me. My wife thinks it's hilarious because she says, you sound so goddamn depressed singing it. When you say, and here's the best part, you have a head start if you're among the very young at heart, she says, I don't believe that bullshit for a minute. Young at heart, my ass. So Kathleen again there, always just putting it down. I believe she put down Saving All My Loving For You, which is one of Tom's worst ever songs from Heart Attack and Vine, and she kind of slated
Called it bullshit.
Yeah, she said it was terrible, so big up Kathleen. But yeah, that's Young at Heart, and there we are at the end of just a kind of very perplexing, interesting set of songs there with Bawlers.
It really was. These were the grand weepers, like we said. I don't know whether the next album or the last album was the Grim Reapers. Perhaps a bit of both. Like you say, man. Obviously, I wasn't the most knowledgeable of this album at all. I wasn't knowledgeable about Alice either. But when I went back to Alice, I was kind of like, oh, okay, I know what I've missed. With Ballers, I'm kind of like, some of these songs are quite good. Like I'm glad I've heard Widow's Grove again. I'm glad I got back into You Can Never Hold Back Spring, but there are a lot of lesser weights tracks on this. I feel like when he's not experimenting, when he's just doing ballads, he can slip back into this very, very comfortable kind of lame duck zone, really, where he's not pushing himself, and he kind of relies on the fact that he can just write good ballads rather than pushing himself. And it's when he pushes himself, like, you never think he's not trying on Real Gone. You know what I mean? Whereas here, some of the songs could even be classed as quite lazy, and that's kind of sad. But the high points on this album are still generic Tom Waits high points, where it's still unbelievably good, and you're so like, if you know, for every shiny things we did get a Danny Says and a Down There by the Train, and just Take Care of All My Children, good night Irene. Some of these songs are just so brilliant. Like, yeah, we had Little Man, but you know, Never Let Go is quite good.
I think my ratio of like to dislikes is probably actually higher on Brawlers. I think I like more of Brawlers than I like of Brawlers song by song.
It could be like 50. Dude, it could be 50-50 on here. It really could. There's 20 songs. 10 of them are good. 10 of them are quite bad.
Yeah, quite bad's a little strong, but yeah, I know what you mean. They're just not quite up to the par, and they're a little bit kind of not got the replay value. But we'll wrap up this section with obviously our least favourite and most favourite songs. So Sam, your least favourite Ballers, please.
Shiny Things. I think it absolutely fails. It's pants. It really is. Tom singing a song about crows should be absolutely mind blowing. Things on Alice had better crow work, if I'm honest.
I'll go with Down There by the Train.
Oh, not Fanning Street.
Oh. Maybe Fanning Street, actually. They got similar issues, but yeah, okay. I'll go Fanning Street. So what's your favourite?
Yeah. I'm probably going to go with You Can Never Hold Back Spring.
Oh, nice. I'll probably go with Take Care of All of My Children. I could go with Young at Heart as well. Actually, no, Young at Heart. I like Young at Heart more. I think
you've after 21 episodes, you finally picked a sappy saccharine song.
Well, I was going to pick Shiny Things to fuck you, but just fuck it. You know what I mean? It's not. So we'll move on. And as we close every episode, we always have our Real Gone segment where we review a film, or in this case, a TV appearance of Tom Waits. Because basically, if anyone's been following Tom Waits' career at all on IMDb or any other things, you've noticed that we've pretty much covered all his big movies. If there's any Tom Waits film you've seen and you think, oh, maybe done Dracula, Ed Fields in The Play of the Lord, Mystery Men, etc., done like probably 17, 18 reviews now, so check back. So we're running out, and I thought we've kind of got our last 3 sets. Obviously got 2 episodes after this. We have our Bastards episode, which we're probably going to do shortcuts on, and then we're going to have our Bad As Me episode where we'll do Paradise Alley, his first ever film appearance. It just feels right, and so we'll go that
Mumbles.
way. He's in it a little bit. He's not in it as little as he made out in the Low Side of the Road book. He's in it for about 2 or 3 minutes, but again, that's not a lot in the grand scheme of things. So But today, we are reviewing, or Sam is reviewing, Tom's appearance on one of our all-time favourite TV shows, The Simpsons.
Look, we've covered all our Bawlers pretty quickly, so I think we can slow it down just a little bit here. Just talk about The Simpsons a bit, the state of the modern Simpsons. This is episode 517 from season 24, called Homer Goes to Prep School, and it's obviously a reference to one of the best episodes in the entire bloody Simpsons canon, which is Homer Goes to College. Written perfectly by Conan O'Brien just before he left to host the best talk show on television.
Right.
That is a fact. Basically, Homer joins some doomsday preppers, and Tom Waits is one of them. This is one of the better kind of crappy episodes of modern Simpsons. Like, fundamentally, there's no naff B plot, which in these new episodes is a very good thing. Like, a lot of these new episodes have B plots, where it's just like, let's give Marge and Lisa something to do. Like, Senor Ding Dong is the prime example of that for me. Where it's just like,
that's a good episode though, the Super Bowl one.
Yeah, it's kind of like a turning point for me. Like, things started to go a bit downhill from there. Some of the jokes just go on for too long nowadays.
Yeah.
Thank you, Family Guy. Like, when the EMP goes off from the nuclear plant, there's like 900 cutaway gags of different Springfieldians being affected, and like they're trying to be as dark as Family Guy. Like, so it turns off Disco Stu's disco, and like he pulls out a gun and it just cuts away, and it's like, we don't need that in The Simpsons. No. We don't need that. There are quite. I wrote down all of the best lines though that like kind of actually made me chuckle. No, I didn't say laugh. I said chuckle. Yeah, there was a visual gag of trampoline, where it's trampolines on a trampoline, which made me laugh. The Mormon Church, America's most respectable cult. Yeah. America can't collapse. We're as powerful as ancient Rome. This unsourced, undated video has convinced me of the truth. Nice. Lisa, go play your saxophone while you still can. Tom has a great line. He says, Homer says to Tom, your end of the world is better than my during of the world. And if Jesus had a gun, he'd be alive today. So, like, The Simpsons will always chuck a few chuckles in there. But Waits' character, unfortunately, looks nothing like him.
Yeah, it's a shame that he's not just playing himself. The best Simpson characters just play themselves, like Mel Gibson, Alec Baldwin, you know.
Yeah. We meet him in a bar drinking whiskey, rather fittingly, so that's all right. He talks about WORL, without rule of law. You know, he's the guy you want to know when the stuff hits the fan. There is like one little line he says where he goes, "Everyone but us is all doomed. I'm so jazzed." And then he does like an adorable little laugh, which he's never done before. It's like, aha, like that. Yeah, you've never really heard it before. But like a Simpsons episode with preppers with Tom Waits, with so much like potential for gritty violence, had so much potential and then just squanders it. Like it does the whole like, you know how Marge is just meant to be kind of like a voice of reason. Now she's like this wussy nag, and like Homer becoming this big sort of cop out in lieu of a real apocalypse. Like, basically Marge convinces him that the non-preppers need to go help the real people of Springfield and like bring the food back. Like, we don't always need to return to the direct status quo at the end of Simpsons episodes. Like, some of the basic episodes end with weirder, more irreversible things than the apocalypse. And it just means like we never get to see Waits do any weird apocalyptic shit. Like, we don't see them living through the end of the world. All of their camp life takes place off screen. They literally arrive at Tom Waits' preppers like fort, and then the next scene is them leaving it. It's like, so much more funnier things could have gone on. And like you say, Tom should have just played Tom. Like, obviously not play, like, you know, Tom plays Tom when he's in the imaginary world of Dr. Parnassus. He doesn't have to play one of the world's best lyricists. He just has to play a Waits-esque character. Right. He doesn't do any philosophizing, any musings. It's literally just, what if Tom Waits was it's horrible typecasting, actually. Like, when Paul McCartney was on The Simpsons, or like George Harrison, things like that, you could tell there's a real love to get these people on. Whereas now it's just, we need to get Lady Gaga on. We need to get, you know, whoever's on Gilmore Girls on.
Right.
Just like literally just listing, like draining the bottom of the barrel, and like not that Tommy's the bottom of the barrel in pop culture, but in terms of known pop culture, he kind of is the bottom of the barrel. Sadly,
I mean, he's someone.
And they're just chucking him in because it's like, well, have they had Bruce Springsteen on actually?
I don't think so. No.
Yeah, but it's just like, yes, Tom has a great voice, and yes, I would love to see Tom Waits in a Pixar animated film,
right?
Or maybe DreamWorks, like Shrek 7, maybe, I don't know. But yeah, it's a very lame duck Simpsons episode. Very light on the plot. All these new ones are very light on the plot.
Yeah.
Like, again, I don't want to reference like Titans that are things like You Only Move Twice, Cape Fear, or King Size Homer. But there's this driving narrative in all of them that keeps the story going, and the jokes are there to service that. Whereas now it's a story to service jokes, and it's just so pathetic, really. Like, yes, people have moaned about the declining quality of the modern Simpsons, but it's because it is a fact. Every story has been done now. There, like, oh, there's going to be some food in the room. Homer's going to make a food joke. Oh, there's going to be some potential for mischief. Bart's going to do it. And I'm not saying we need, like, you know, Bart to become 15 and, like, you know, do almost like a Boyhood type thing, and Marge and Homer need to divorce. But I don't know. There were always little jumps here and there, like Apu having kids, or Luann and what's Milhouse's dad called? Kurt, yeah. Them having a divorce. Just little things like that kind of made Springfield feel a bit more real. But now they are just stuck in this time warp where nothing happens, and it's just the same things happening over and over. Like they're even referencing other Simpsons episodes now, and it's just tiresome. I'd rather have watched Domino again if I'm honest.
Right. Well, there we go. Yeah, and we should be back next week as ever, Sam, to be discussing Tom Waits movies and Tom Waits albums and everything Tom Waits. I just want to wrap it up by saying thank you so much, guys. Obviously, we're going to be back soon for Bastards, which I'm really looking forward to. That's going to be a fun note,
fun listen,
right? Because it's so diverse. It's not like the first two that are kind of a cloth, you know.
It's no cloth.
No cloth.
Touching cloth.
Yeah, there we go. So at Tom Waits Podcast on Twitter, tomwaitspodcast@gmail.com. On the email, please email us anything about Tom Waits. How did you get into Tom Waits? We'd love to hear about that. What do you think about Bastards? What do you think about any episode? Anything we've said, just, you know, get in contact with us. Also, the shop that we said before, Redbubble. If you want to help support the show in any way, please just buy some merchandise from that shop, and that will help go towards our bandwidth costs. That's really, really appreciated as well.
Just type in Tom Waits Podcast or Down in the Hole. Both work well.
You'll definitely come across it. You'll recognise our stuff as well. And what else? iTunes reviews, all that sort of good stuff. And thank you so much, guys. Please subscribe on YouTube as well. Check out the bonus episodes, and we will see you for Bastards.
Take care.
Did you ever live in a car in LA?
Well, for a brief time, I think everybody's lived in a car.
It's kind of strange to have a guy sitting here with a bottle in front of him.
Well, I'd rather have a bottle in front of me than a frontal lobotomy.